The fact that you clicked on this video means that you're a super ambitious Matric student who not only wants to do well in the NBTs, but also wants to make sure that your NBT score is high enough to ensure that you get into your dream university. So for that, I'm happy to tell you that you've come to the right place, because this video is basically the ultimate NBT prep guide to ensure that you understand how to prepare for the NBTs, what the NBTs are, what NBT to apply for, when best to write the NBTs to ensure that you maximize your NBT success. So without further ado, let's get started. So in case you're probably wondering who I am, my name is Tutor. I'm the founder and education manager here at Euler Education. Euler Education is an online NBT prep specialization company where we basically specialize in anything to do with NBT education through our online mock papers as well as our online interactive NBT courses. To date, we've literally helped over 8,000 students through our web resources ace their NBTs, and we're so happy to also help you too. So in case you want to know a little bit more about me and how I even ended up here, the first thing to keep in mind is that I matriculated in 2018 and I went to Crawford International Victoria. So if you're a Crawford student watching this, huge shout out to you. And another very interesting thing is after I was at Crawford, I actually went on to study civil engineering at UCT. And not only that, I actually wrote the NBTs twice and I got proficient scores for both the math and the English AQL. So I know a lot about the NBTs and I'm very confident when I speak about all my experiences and everything I've learned regarding the NBTs. And soon after studying at UCT, I ended up graduating in time with honors with a degree in civil engineering. And right after that, I went on to work at one of the biggest engineering companies in Africa called Sotari. Amazing company. I worked there as a hydroelectric engineer. I had an amazing experience. And then after that, I realized that, to be honest, I'm more passionate about education and really helping Matric students actually get into their dream course university. And that's how I ended up here. And myself and my team of tutors, we ended up building Euler Education to really ensure that we can help students like you make sure that you get into your dream course at your dream university within South Africa. So stay tuned for the video, and now let's actually dive into the main thing. How do we actually prepare effectively for the NBTs this year? The first thing that you need to do when it comes to preparing for the NBTs is you need to know which NBT you need to write. So for those of you who don't know what the NBTs are, for those of you who just came here and you're probably wondering what are the NBTs, I know I have to write the NBTs, but what are they? So basically the NBT stand for National Benchmark Test, right? National Benchmark Tests basically were created by UCT or a group at UCT to basically test your readiness for university, to test your aptitude, if your aptitude is high enough to actually be able to handle university coursework. Because I don't know if you know this, but university coursework is very tricky. So it's very important for these universities to test you using the NBTs as a benchmark to basically test, is the student ready for university coursework? And the sad thing about the NBT sometimes is that a lot of students that do very well in school environments, let's say they're getting straight A's for math, physics, English, everything. Actually, a significant portion of them sometimes do very badly in the NBTs because they're not trained and they don't understand how the NBTs actually work. So the NBTs are basically a benchmark test, and there's mainly two types. There's the math version and then there's an English version. But the English version, not just English, it also includes some data handling questions, problem solving questions that sort of are more akin to things that you would expect in math lit. So that's always key to keep in mind. So that's just a little bit of context on what the NBTs are. And the key thing with the NBTs is that they can be written both online and in person, and it's really up to you which one you want to do. We suggest doing it online because we're very biased to online and we think it's more convenient. But if you're someone who thrives in an in-person environment, then that's perfectly fine for you as well. Cool. So now going back to finding out which one you need to write. So here's something to keep in mind, right? It's not always compulsory to write both NBTs. However, we do suggest you do write both NBTs, especially if you're someone who does both English as well as core math, right? And the reason why is because the more NBTs you write, if you write both of them, it basically broadens your options. If you have both exams on record that you've written, then basically you're able to apply to more courses and more courses are willing to accept you. Whereas if you only write the AQL, then you are restricted to only courses that only need the AQL. So we do suggest you write both, but if you're dead set on writing one NBT and you're like, you know what, I just want to focus on the one and do really well in that one NBT, then you need to find out what's the minimum requirements. Most universities will have this on their handbooks and they will say that, for this university, you need to write the AQL for this university, write the AQL for this. So always make sure that you check the handbooks. But if you don't want to go through, if you don't want to spend too much time going through the handbooks, because the handbooks can be super long PDF documents and stuff, you can actually check out our NBT checker tool that we've built, which is basically a super easy to use tool to basically find out which NBT you need to write based on the course you want to study, as well as the university you want to study at. Pretty simple. You just plug in the university, and once you plug in the university, and then you basically type the 3 courses that you would like to study at the university, and then basically it'll show you the NBT that you need to write, as well as the scores that you need to get in order to increase your chances of acceptance to the university. Because something to keep in mind with the NBTs is that universities will typically give you the requirements or the score that you need to aim for to, to be accepted for the course. But more often than not, they won't really, it's more important to really aim for the highest score you can possibly get. Because remember, you're competing with thousands, hundreds of thousands of other students that are applying to the same course. So if your scores just meet the minimum requirements, you're not going to get in. Because remember, there's other students that have gotten 99% for the NBTs, right? So you need to make sure that with NBTs you aim as high as possible. And this is really why a lot of students don't get into UCT, Wits, Stellenbosch. It's because they aim for the bare minimum and then they expect to get accepted, but they don't get accepted because they always aim for the bare minimum. So you really need a proper NBT structure, and you need to really aim high when it comes to your NBT score. And I'll tell you right now, if you don't have a proper structure when it comes to preparing for the NBTs, then it's going to be very, very, very tricky for you. Cool. So now the next thing when it comes to writing the NBTs is finding the proper date to write and also booking for your NBTs, right? So of course, at this point, when we're recording this video, bookings aren't actually open. But of course, when bookings are open, it's pretty simple how you book on the website. We will release a tutorial as well on how to book for the NBTs, and we will link it in this video. Depending on where you watch it, you'll be able to see a pretty cool booking tutorial on how to actually book for the NBTs. It's pretty simple to book for the NBTs. All you do, you just go to the NBT website, you simply just book for it, and you book a date. But the key thing was not just about booking a date, but it's about booking the right date. Most people, when they just write the NBTs, they say that,
you know what, I'll just write it at the end of the year, I'll just like push it out to the end of the year when I'm like less stressed, and
guys and gals, it is not a good idea to write the NBT last minute. Write it as soon as you can, and as soon as the bookings open, or as soon as you're watching this video, see if bookings are open and try by all means to write the NBT as soon as you can. And the reason why is because the sooner you write the NBTs, remember, these universities, right, your acceptance success. Funny enough, my dad literally works in the university system, and he's told me so much about how these things work, and it's actually deep how these universities tend to favor the students that actually apply sooner, that get their NBT results sooner, as well as their application results. So it's very important that with the NBTs you write as soon as possible. So whether it's in April, May, or June, we oftentimes think June is around the best time, because remember, when you're around June, that's also when you're preparing for your June exams. For those matrics that do write June exams, if you're preparing around June, it's very good because you can prepare for all your other exams and the NBTs as well. And because you're studying for math and for English, that actually does give you a boost when preparing for the NBT. So you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone instead of preparing for the NBTs by themselves, as well as with everything else. But it's important to keep in mind that NBTs are very different to your typical IB or NSC practice exams. So that's another point that I'm going to get to just now. And before I get into the next point, it's also important to keep in mind that when it comes to the NBTs, and the reason why it's very good to write early is because some courses actually require you to write early. And on our NBT checker tool, some of the courses that have specific dates by which you must write the NBT, we actually put those in there. So just make sure that whenever you write the NBT, make sure you write the NBTs before October of the given year that you're writing the NBTs, right? Obviously, try to write it as early as possible, as early as May, June. But if you happen to write it beyond July, it's not a problem. You can still do that. If you write it in August, September, October, it's fine, but nothing more or later than October in that case, because trust me, universities are pretty brutal when it comes to these NBT acceptances. So now for the third point, which is actually the most important point, is how on earth are you going to prepare for the NBTs? The key thing now is you need to develop an action plan to ensure that you're ready for the NBTs. And the first thing to keep in mind with an action plan is you need to ensure that you're learning the right content and you're practicing it in the right manner to ensure that you are 100% ready for the NBTs. Because I'll tell you right now, a very, very common mistake that a lot of students make when they prepare for the NBTs, because they hear that the NBT is it's a math exam and an English exam, they just be like, oh, okay, cool, I can just do math past papers, like math grade 12 exam past papers, IB and NSC past papers or whatever. But the sad reality is that the NBTs are so different. They're super different to those exams, right? So now, even if you're practicing those exams, you're actually putting yourself a step back because the NBTs are completely different. Remember, the NBTs are multiple choice, and the questions and the way in which they ask questions are so different. So it's important that you practice the right content to ensure that you're ready for the NBTs. And the best part is that that's what we specialize in. If you go and check out our NBT course, we have the most comprehensive quizzes that are actually designed to be exactly like the NBTs. In fact, some of our quiz questions, we actually made them harder than the NBTs. Even though the NBTs can be hard themselves, we made our questions in some cases harder than the NBTs so that you can get used to that level of thinking. And guess what? We have over 1,500 questions through our practice exams on our course, as well as our actual lesson content quizzes. So if you're someone who really wants to supercharge their NBT learning and make sure that they're practicing the right quizzes in the right manner that are actually like the NBTs, then go ahead and check out our course. Tell your parents about it. It's an amazing course. And our courses and NBT resources have helped over 8,000 students across South Africa master the NBTs. If you can't afford a course, that's no problem. You can check out our mock papers as well on our website for free. We have 2 mock papers, one for English as well as the math paper. Very short papers though. They're not as long or as in depth, but they're good enough to just get you a little bit of a sneak preview into what NBT questions can be like. But it's very important that you practice a lot of questions for the NBTs and they need to be NBT type questions because they are very, very, very different than your typical IEB, DBE, or even NSC questions. The next thing to keep in mind when it comes to preparing for the NBTs is consistency, right? Practicing every single day leading up until your NBTs. So depending on when you're watching this video, maybe you might be watching this video 1 month before your NBT, 2 months before your NBT. No matter what, make sure that every day before your NBT, you just practice something, right? Make sure that you keep that flow going, you keep that momentum going. If you're a physics student, you know what momentum is, P equals MV, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Make sure you get that momentum going because trust me, you need to have momentum before the NBTs. And a lot of students, they think they can just wing the NBTs in one night. Unless you're like Einstein level genius, then sure you can do that. But for most people, they need to practice. And that's how it was for me. I wrote the NBTs twice, math and English, and I prepared both times for it and made sure that I did extremely well. So please make sure that you prepare consistently for your NBTs, and that will basically set you up for success with regards to the NBTs. Cool. And then the next point, which is super important as well, is subscribe to our channel because of course we offer a lot of NBT knowledge and content here. So if you're someone if you've already found this video super insightful, please do like the video and subscribe because it really helps us a lot. We put a lot of time, energy, money into making these videos, and not just these videos, but even our quiz questions, our courses, as well as our free content that we have on our website. And it really helps us a ton by just liking the video and possibly even sharing it with a friend, or even maybe commenting a question below. If you're maybe unsure of a specific thing, feel free to comment. We'll make our best effort to ensure that we respond to your questions, right? And not only that, but we're also on TikTok as well. So if you're also into short form TikToks and reels as well, we're also there as well. We do some interactive fun content there as well that you might enjoy, so go ahead and follow us there as well. And then the last thing, guys and gals, this is something that's a lot less spoken about, but I'm sure a lot of your parents have actually told you this, which is make sure that you eat well, make sure that you get enough rest, and make sure that you stay consistent when it comes to the NBT prep. And the key thing when it comes to eating well and sleeping, it's super important, even though you may think it's trivial, but it's super important because if you get enough sleep, don't try cram this thing last minute, don't try cram all this NBT content last minute just before your exam. Make sure that you practice consistency. If you have, a long time before your NBT exam, if you don't have as much time, then I guess, I don't know, there's not much you can do. You kind of have to cram it last minute. But if you have a lot of weeks before your NBT, make sure that you start practicing ASAP so that you can get enough sleep. Get enough sleep because it's actually been shown that if you get sufficient sleep, your productivity levels and your brain actually operates at a much higher level compared to someone who doesn't get enough sleep. And also, don't eat junk food, man. Don't eat McDonald's. Just stay away from that. Rather eat Kauai. Rather go broke eating Kauai, knowing that it's making you healthier and smarter than, this video is not sponsored by Kauai. I'm not an ambassador of Kauai, but you pretty much get the idea. Just eat something healthy. Make sure you eat healthy food, or just eat some home food, something that's healthy, fruits, get enough water, get enough rest. Because trust me, your mind and the body and the mind are linked, and making sure that your body is healthy will automatically guarantee that your mind is healthy for the NBTs. So if you found this video super insightful, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much. And I just want to applaud you as well for making the effort to be someone who's super invested in their future, because I'll tell you right now, as the person that's making this video, I'm proud of you watching this video because you're making the effort to invest in your future and to learn as much knowledge and to gain as much knowledge to ensure that you make the right choice in your university success. So thanks so much for watching the video. If you found this video super insightful, please, as mentioned, give it a like, subscribe to the channel because we have so much more content coming. And for those of you who really want to supercharge your NBT learning and really want to check out our in-depth course, you get access to everything that you need. Please go ahead and check it out on our website, alleducation.com/NBT. You can check it out there, as well as some of our other resources as well on the NBT. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.